Greetings, programs. This is Wretch, and welcome back to VTM Night Road. Now, in the last stream, we dealt with our mission with the Ventru, where we had to go to the immigration camp in the middle of Texas, and it actually ended a lot less spectacularly than what went down with the Tremere. But everything went well. We got paid, which is awesome. And our stats are actually looking pretty good right now. We're maxed out on our willpower. We still have a 4 of humanity. Our hunger is reasonably sated. And our stats are doing pretty good right now. We've got a fortitude of 1, which is good for any kindred to have. Dominate 1, blood sorcery of 2. Looking pretty good, I have to say. So, and we got our car upgraded, so it's 3 across the board, which is very nice, and it'll suit us until we're able to grab something new. But we've got $4,128 right now, which is stellar. So let's just go ahead and continue and see what trouble we can get into. Oh, and a juicy 12 XP. Yes, indeed. By the way, hello, Suzanne, Kath, Vosros. Thank you for joining me tonight. You tune the BMW's radio to hear the news. This is Melpomene? I don't know how to pronounce that, but this is Melpomene Chen, and you're listening to Mel at Midnight. According to federal sources, a fire set by left-wing terrorists during a failed breakout has torn through the Camp Shuffler detention facility in Texas, killing almost 100 prisoners and 30 police officers and first responders. According to Ellen Krona of Immigrations and Custom Enforcement, detainees have armed themselves and escaped across Texas. I don't know. Threaten the virtue of white women? Look, I have to read this, but you know none of it's real, right? Like, whatever happened, don't turn me off. This is a bunch of bull... Are you looking to get fit the smart way? At Paragon Fitness, we pride ourselves... You return to your personal stack of books and paraphernalia at Corbo Used Books. Oh yes, because we were gonna maybe get ourselves a little bit more book read. And actually what we really wanted were wits. So maybe we should go ahead and get that point in wits. And we got 6 points left. It'll be 9. For the next dot. I'm okay with a 3 in wits. I hate having anything at a 1, at least in terms of being a Tremere with mental attributes. Clandestine? Let's go ahead and actually see what that is, because... Journal. Messy criticals. Functions of abilities, yes. Sneaking, moving silently, hiding, picking locks, and forcing doors. Okay, I'm not really that interested in that then. Our awareness would definitely be nice to go ahead and get up, so we will rock that out. Maybe our technology as well. That puts us in a pretty good situation when it comes to any mental problem that we run into. And that gives us 2 more points. And I know we're not going to be able to get any new Secrets of the Blood. But still. I think we actually might save these 2 experience points for a rainy day, if that makes any sense. Okay. So we go to Rayner's Imported Autos. I kind of want to just double check everything. I think we actually might be in good shape to try and take on the mage. I would like to wait until our blood sorcery is at 3. But, ugh, I don't know. I would like that ghoul. Which one was the... Let's examine the Mazda. This sports car was really something before the Berlin Wall came down. Even now it looks great. Blood red exterior, smooth lines, good looking chassis. The interior is rough as hell. A couple of werewolves either fought or fucked in there, but everything is intact. The test drive is fun as hell as the little car zips around Tucson like a Vespa. But you can feel that it's old. It's got one of those weird rotary engines. It's a fragile little thing. Not really what we're looking for. How about the 19... Oh, we can sell the BMW and get... Oh, that's cool. We can trade it in. The 1992 Saab 900 Turbo. They don't make Saabs like they used to. Or at all. This gunmetal gray machine has a few spots of rust, but nothing to worry about. And the interior is in good condition. Leather seats, too. The car has held up well despite its age. You take her out for a test drive and find that while the Saab's turbo means it loves to accelerate, it doesn't really like turning. It's a fast car, but not a maneuverable one. What about the Acura? Is that the middle of the ground? Yes, it is. Old Acuras are as unkillable as cockroaches, and quite a bit nicer. This jet black Integra is a perfectly standard and unremarkable example. Unmodified and well-maintained, with a clean engine and a well-designed exterior. It's not the flashiest car, but your test drive tells you it does everything a car needs to do, and everything is just a little nicer than it needs to be. And the Toyota Tacoma, which I guess is the tank. This big silver machine is tough and well made, and though it's gritty inside and out, that means something actually used it. The engine looks good, and there are no signs of rust or serious mechanical wear. When you take it on the road, it blends right in. The Tacoma was never going to handle well, even compared to modern trucks, but it feels solid and tough. And as you say, Voss Rose, we can save our money for a better batch. I did drool over the Toyota, because the Toyota is usually a very good car. It's like my brother had a red Toyota pickup that he drove for like 15 years without it ever breaking down. So we'll head to the firearms, the sword, the Raspberry Pi laptop. And we're not super technology based, so let's look at the swords again. Your modified Bavarian M1869 is a fine weapon, ideal for whacking off limbs or parrying blades or fangs. But maybe there's something better. You look through Elena's selection, unimpressed, until you notice the Wakizashi. No one cool owns a Wakizashi, Wretch, Elena says, blue eyes watching yours over her railway glasses. Nonetheless, she unlocks the case and tosses you the scabbarded blade. Oh shit. It's the real deal. How old is this, you ask? Like 3 years. And it was made in Korea. Seems unfair that the Koreans take all the good pop music from Japan and now they're also making the best ninja swords, but it is the best. And you look like a man who might actually kill someone with it. But yeah, it's not a collector's item, because it's new and Korean. And I broke the other sword trying to open the trunk of an Altima, and that's why it's only $31.50. You sweep it through the air. The Bavarian sword is a fine blade, but this... You practice a few draw cuts, confident that you can slice right through even the hardest skin of an ancient vampire with this blade. And you can afford it. Even better, you could sell the old M1869 back to Elena and have some walking around money. Trade in the cutlass for $150? That's not bad. Holy crap. We'll wait in. We trade in, and that's a very expensive sword then. Blech. I think we may keep the cutlass. Let's go to Paragon Fitness real quick. I need to look at my... Man, it'd be so nice if my dex was a little bit higher. I think that should be next up, is get our dex up to 2. Just for some basic stuff, you know? Maybe we should get our combat up as well. I don't know. What do you guys think? What should be high on our priorities? Should we go ahead and save that? Should I save that XP for later, or go ahead and spend it on a dot in combat? Cat says save it. Yeah. You've been reviewing the stats on how they work in this game. I'm not sure you need dex so much as strength. Well, it's kind of interesting because in the tabletop, you need dex to actually hit anything, and then your damage is dependent on strength. So that's kind of interesting, at least when you have a melee weapon or a firearm. Okay. Well, I agree with Kath. We should just go ahead and save it. We've been able to get out of every situation we've been in just by using our brains or our magic. So let us go ahead and... what do y'all think? Should we try and take on a mage? We're pretty good on all of our mental stats right now, and having a ghoul would be excellent. I would kind of want to wait until we finish this third mission run, but I'm not sure if we're going to get the opportunity to have that ghoul. Yeah, just throw our books at each other. Absolutely. It'll be like a food fight at Hogwarts. You know what? We're going to go ahead and rock that out, I think. Vani is busy in her lab, and she still needs your help. You could finish this run and get the deal after? Yeah. It's like I don't know if the game's going to allow us to do that, though. Let's go ahead and help out the Bruja. Do I want an answer? Sure. Tremere magic. So this music was actually... this was unused. It was called Open Season in VTM Bloodlines. It was used in East LA in the Clan Quest mod. I really liked it. You can get her after? Alright. Well, let's go just grab the parcel then. Our car is still in good shape. It's at 3. Our food situation's decent. Let's go pick up the parcel for the Bruja. For Patermuster and take it to St. Basil's Hospital. Or should we... that's $150. We'll spend some money. Alexander provides you with a young woman who discovered her parents brought her here legally when she tried to apply for college, and is now trying to raise money any way she can. You're soon sated. There we go. Don't know what we're going to run into, you know? What's the last mission? Prince Lettow wants you to deliver information that'll help the semi-exiled Bruja Patermuster and his band of caitiffs and thin-bloods. Apparently they're under threat of eviction from St. Basil's Hospital in Phoenix, and Lettow wants to prevent that from happening. Well, let's go. Yeah, I agree too. The books were a good call. Just because we have that blood magic a lot easier to get. Chapter 6, St. Basil's Hospital. Tucson, Arizona, night of November 22nd, 6:59 a.m. sunrise. There's no traffic in Tucson that evening as you drive to the Viper and drift to a halt outside the covered main entrance. You don't see Prince Lettow or any other couriers. Just like the first time, Riga watches you, and just like the first time, a flunky runs up to your car. He hands you a lockbox. He also has a pass so you can get inside as a janitor, then tells you, Patermuster is in the morgue. You clip the pass to a lanyard, sling it around your neck, and peel out. You're at the edge of town when you realize you've done 2 jobs for Prince Lettow and you're getting low on supplies. Microfiber towels, zip lines, line for crinching a tarp shut if you're stuck out in the sun, that kind of thing. Fortunately, it's still early, so you roll into an AutoZone across from a convenience store where you can stock up. You pass the payphone there and check it to make sure it still works. You know every payphone in Tucson. You get a dial tone. Good. You walk inside, and you instantly know you're being watched. Watched by whom? I walk the aisles, confident I can spot whoever's looking for me. You keep browsing while you watch the anti-theft mirrors. You don't have any trouble spotting the woman who's looking for you because she's the size of two big men. You could tell because she's got two big men behind her, and all three wear two tight black suits. You see the cashier watching you from the anti-theft mirror. She wears a red AutoZone polo, but from the way she's standing, she's just drawn a pistol and she's holding it below the counter. "Good evening, Wretch," the woman says. You've seen her before, and this time you memorize her features. White, middle-aged, graying brown hair in a French braid. Really huge. "My name is Agent Donati with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I'd like to ask you a few questions." "Good Lord." "Woman! Big woman!" I don't speak with police. Always the safest answer. I walk back to my BMW. She grabs your arm, which is definitely a violation of all sorts of protocols and policies. You keep your beast in check. "You're going to listen to me," she hisses. "And then you're going to do what you're told." You wrench your arm away. "Am I?" "You're going to help us bring down Lettow Kaminsky. Or Kaminsky. I like the Kaminsky. Never heard of him. I'm not telling a hunter anything about the Camarilla. I've been doing this for a lot longer than you know, and I still don't have a lot of time, Agent Donati says. So I'll be quick. Oh, do you want to check your watch? You fight the urge. Lettow Kaminsky is the head of a crime syndicate that stretches across most of Arizona. His organization is involved with human trafficking, organ legging, racketeering, organized auto theft, and fraud so long-running and extensive that in order to encompass its full extent, I had to track down copies of the French Masquerade and the Spanish Guardia Civil and Turkish translations from the Ottoman Empire. Do you understand what I mean? Do you understand how long this has been going on? She sounds tired. Then her eyes narrow as more customers arrive. One watches you suspiciously from beneath a low-slung black cap. Hunter? Investigator? Whoever he is, this is a problem. Donati wants answers, but you don't want to say anything too revealing. The Masquerade is strange enough in Tucson without one more curious citizen tipping over into active supernatural sleuth. Okay. So, wits and awareness. So that's 4. Manipulation and persuasion. That's 3, 4. Charisma plus intimidation. Four again. I see we have tons of options here. And manipulation plus subterfuge. 3 and 4. 4 across the board. Love it. I do like the flavor of 4. Roll a d4. I don't know what I'm looking at. What So what are you planning? And be honest. I keep my eyes and ears open and try to keep my mouth shut. I don't want to run my mouth in a way that breaches the masquerade around these customers. You like playing dumb? Well, he does have a little bit of some smark. I actually agree with that. This common sky guy must be really old. Shouldn't be hard to arrest an old guy. I play dumb, lying and manipulating Donati into telling me useful information I can use. Even as you chatter amicably and waste Donati's time, you lead the agents away from the customer so they don't overhear anything. Donati is obviously annoyed, but you just keep lying and playing dumb. Agent Donati tries to hand you a card, but you don't take it, so she tucks it into the pocket of your silkscreen jacket. Contact us if you want to survive what's coming, she says. Then she signals her goons, and they leave, never taking their eyes off of you. You check the card. U.S. Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Samantha Donati, Special Affairs Division. There's a physical address, an email address, and 2 phone numbers. When you glance up again, her dark blued Ford Fairline is rolling out of the parking lot. The cashier took off, so you just grab what you need and head back to your BMW. Riga watches you from the roof of the AutoZone as you leave. See, we were being watched right there, so... As always, you've done your research. St. Basil's Hospital in Phoenix is a crowded, underfunded Catholic hospital that began as a psychiatric facility. It was corrupt even before the Canaanites moved in, with multiple scandals involving patient abuse, embezzlement, and accounting fraud that reached the local papers. You've already noted exits, nearby safe houses, good places to park, and several abandoned buildings where you can hide if things go bad. Julian calls you somewhere around exit 200. Do you want to know what's on that USB? He asks. You glance at your suitcase. You have no idea how to open the push-button lock, and besides, the USB is probably encrypted. Then you glance at your phone. Julian is insane to call you. Anyone could be listening. Before you can answer, Julian says, St. Basil's is getting a makeover. Big floor-to-ceiling windows, a modern emission system, a new morgue. In other words, no place for rats like us to hide. The Eagle thinks it's an SI plot. I'm not so sure, though I bet they'd love to pick off homeless rats when they're forced to flee. Since the Eagle doesn't want that, the USB you're carrying contains instructions on how to freeze out the hospital's current director and keep things as they are. But we can do better, Wretch. Tucson's boss is a brilliant financier. I'll give him that. And the artificial paper trail he's created will bury the current director, force her out in favor of some brainless lackey, and keep his creatures safe. But it can also be used to transfer power to someone else. Someone like us. You consider what to say. Julian is very confident in his ability to move the SI around the map by making them chase your phone, but that could get you killed. You should avoid saying too much. What about the SI? I'm not scared, just the opposite. I'd love to tear a hole in the Second Inquisition and neutralize them before they can cause any more damage. Minimal presence that I can see, so if they show up, it's your fault for making noise, Julian says. The real danger is the guy in charge there. The Eagle is too far away to stop us, but that old monster won't take kindly to our plans. Recruit him if you can. Otherwise, well, it's up to you. The process is simple. Gain access to St. Basil's computer system and install the computer code I'm sending you. It's self-executing, so just drag and drop the little file and then double-click it. Just don't let the local boss figure out what you're doing until it's too late. One last thing. There's a Motel 6 a mile up the road. Walk into the public bathroom on the 2nd floor and leave your phone in the trash. Don't destroy the sim. Little pun there. Anyway, I put a fresh phone under the bathroom sink. Do all of that and the SI team on your tail won't find and destroy you. I'm sure you know the drill by now, Wretch. He hangs up. You pull into the Motel 6 and do the phone trick again. You wonder if the Banu Hakim fully understands the game he's playing. Probably not. As you get back into your BMW, your new phone buzzes when an email arrives with a zipped-up executable file. You stop to check the email and commit it to memory, because it includes an updated list of keywords the SI is scanning for. Traffic is thick that evening, so it takes you almost 2 hours to reach your destination. You turn left at a Circle K and have no problem finding a parking lot near a chain-link fence. You step back and examine your car, satisfied. You can reach it from multiple directions. Your knockoff Tissot says 9:40 p.m. St. Basil's is a baroque monstrosity that looks like an invader from an older and darker city back east. Its bricks are discolored, its windows high and narrow, and one doomed attempt to modernize the structure just makes it look like a prison with a single watchtower of dingy glass and black steel. You can feel the sickness emanating off St. Basil's, the impossibility of healing. You watch the main entrance for a few minutes, feeling out the rhythms of the patients and staff, then grab your sword in its canvas bag and walk around to the emergency entrance. Neon yellow ambulances look like space invaders among the crumbling gray bricks. A few EMTs are outside smoking cigarettes under the no smoking sign. Another entrance is locked and heaped up with trash, broken beds and furniture that no one ever got rid of. You don't see any other ways in that aren't locked with mechanical or electronic locks. There aren't a lot of cameras out here. That's good to know. You shoulder your suitcase and walk into reception and immediately understand why Lettow gave you a passkey. The place is locked down like a liquor store. The reception desk is behind shatterproof plastic. The elevator is locked with a key code, and the main double doors that lead deeper into the hospital aren't just locked, they're watched by a private security guard. The waiting area is full of people slumped in slashed up wooden chairs with orange cushions. It smells like apple juice and bleach. Julian blabbing something about how modern statecraft is largely a project of eternal colonization? Whatever. You have a key. You swipe yourself through. The light flashes red. So of course you try again, because it's just an old-fashioned magnetic strip card. The light flashes red again. The guard, bright yellow taser on his left hip, Ruger LC9 on his right, hasn't looked up from his game of Candy Crush, but one of the receptionists is watching you. Shit. You've been here for 30 seconds and things have already gone sideways. You can't just stand here running this busted card through again, but this isn't the sort of place you can talk your way into. You scan the waiting patients, counting the junkies. There are a lot. Does one of them have bite marks? Some amateur vampire didn't lick the wound clean. Or worse, the kindred hero is so thin-blooded they don't even have that ability. Instead of worrying about that, you focus on finding a way in. There are 3 ways inside from this room. The double doors with a card reader that won't read your card, a staffed door that's locked from this side, and you can't exactly pick a lock in front of the guard, and the elevator, which is locked with a keypad. You saw some unattended entrances outside, but all the ones you noticed had mechanical locks. Maybe you missed one. You could search again, though it wouldn't be easy to skulk around outside without drawing attention. Oh, you can hack the elevator's key pass to gain entrance. Intelligence and technology! Yep, that would about do it. I agree, Kath. I think Julian is getting played by someone. And I still can't believe that Tremere is trusting Assamites as well, Vasaros, but if you think about it, the situation with the Hecata is far more, out there, to me personally. It's like the Tremere just cursed the Assamites. They didn't wipe out the clan like they did in terms of the Cappadocians and the Lamia and stuff like that, but all of them are working together. The greater good. Huh. Well, I'm glad we fed. I actually don't, even if we have the dots, I don't want to hack the elevator's keypad just because I feel that that's going to be... We don't even know where that elevator is leading. But... Let's see. Where'd you go? Evens, elevators, odds, investigation. 5. Odds. Investigate the building's exterior, trying to puzzle out where unattended entrance might be. I don't know yet, Hellbanner. I don't know if I'm going to follow Julian or the Prince. I'm kind of worming my way between both of them, to tell you the truth. You head back outside before the guard gets up and sweep the hospital's exterior again. There's one particularly tempting entrance for food services right next to the kitchen, but the problem is it's under video surveillance. You sidle up to it anyway, then look directly up at the camera. It's hollow. Just a piece of plastic with a fake wire stuck to the wall. You walk right inside. Once you're inside, no one bothers you. The stone walls of St. Basil's are unnaturally cooled for an Arizona autumn, like they're imported the chill and damp from some 19th century mental hospital in London or Massachusetts. Though painted lines of the linoleum floors are supposed to lead to intensive care, orthopedics, radiology, etc., according to the paper maps on the walls, they have a way of fading out or vanishing, turning the near windowless corridors into a labyrinth. Even your meticulous prep work wasn't enough, and even your sense of empathy, numbed by years of surviving as one of the living dead, can feel the miasma of sorrow and regret that hangs over St. Basil's. I'm only concerned with violations of the Masquerade that might get us in trouble. Do I see any problems? You quickly spot a major problem. There's a stretcher in one hallway that looks like it's been unattended for days. Flies swirl as you pull the blanket off the corpse. You can see the chew marks on the neck and wrist. You're not Camarilla, but you instinctively recoil at such an obvious violation of the Masquerade. You sympathize with Prince Lettow. Someone needs to bring this place back in line. You finally find a sign that says morgue. More signs lead into a particularly bleak corridor with old posters illuminated by buzzing yellow lights. There's nowhere to hide when a painfully thin woman appears out of the shadows. You hold up your lanyard and move to keep walking, but she steps in front of you. Patermuster wants to see you, she says, pointing to an office at the end of the hall. Don't keep him waiting. Oh. Patermuster has done everything he can to make his large, low-ceilinged office look impressive. He's cluttered it with a century's worth of executive power idols, from the Art Nouveau furniture in shining mahogany to the mid-century modern lighting fixtures, to the little chrome clicky balls on the desk. The result is a confused acclamation of talismans with no consistency or power to impress. Patermuster, currently wearing scrubs so he won't draw attention, settles himself in an Aira chair behind the desk, so his head is haloed by a water stain on the concrete wall. The walls are otherwise lined with vintage automobile ads, like in Jay Leno's garage. He opens up a laptop and gestures for you to toss in the lock, opens it, and pulls out a USB, which he plugs in. He leans back and 2 katanas appear in his hands as if from nowhere. You blink. It's tricks Decorius taught me, Patermuster says. These are my friends, Duncan and Connor. Nice Highlander reference. He swirls the blades through the air. You almost laugh, but shit, he really knows how to handle them. Being on the wrong side of those blades might be a bad idea. The blades vanish just as suddenly as they appeared, and Patermuster turns his attention to what's on his screen. The Brujah takes his time reading whatever Lettow sent him. You wait. Finally, he leans forward and says, I know that Lettow didn't just send you to deliver a letter. You're supposed to see how we're doing here. The Eagle Prince isn't happy with us. I could definitely see how this place could be run better. by someone like me. Wheels are turning in my head as I imagine a more efficient St. Basil's. Well, you must be a real smart neonate, Wretch, Paternoster says. Because I've done everything I can for this place, and we're still just barely hanging on. And we won't be hanging on for much longer because of the new director, Corelli. She's spoken with the city about a full renovation. Windows, Wretch. Floor-to-ceiling windows. And worse, a remote administration system. If that happens, half the kindred here are doomed. I don't want that, and neither does Prince Lettow. Director Corelli's already installed cameras upstairs. Her monitoring station is right down the hall. She fucking knows who I am. Not what I am. But what if she figures it out? You wait for Paternoster's offer. Technically, you've already done your job. The information Lettow sent me is enough to get rid of Director Corelli and return the hospital to my direct control. There won't be any renovations, any threats to my people or to Lettow's base of power. But I need help. My people, they're all right, but look, they're fucking worthless when it comes to this kind of work. I'm going to need help getting this information onto the director's computer so we can make sure she's stopped. And of course, I'm willing to pay. $1,000 once it's done, but there'll always be a place for you here. It's not much, but a vault in the morgue is better than a morning in the park, you know? You in? Charisma and leadership. Okay, that's 5. Manipulation, persuasion, manipulation. Okay, that's 4. And then int and technology. Yeah, but the ambition has it. I'll work to stop the expansion, but I'm not working for you. I call the shots on this op. I need to make it clear that I'm taking the lead. And who are you, little neonate, to give me orders? Paternoster says. I'm someone who can solve your problem, you say, if you let me. You stand up, not to make a threat, but just to let the Bruja study you clearly. The ragged-looking Bruja is no fool. He sizes you up and then says, well, I guess it's good to have an outside perspective. Fine. I'll give you access to what you need, but don't disappoint me. The black rotary phone on Paternoster's desk rings. Hello? What? Well, the blood can't be everywhere. Surely there's an exaggerate... Okay, fine. Okay, I'll get... Okay. 5 minutes. What? No, sissy Spacek. No, sissy, you're thinking of Rosemary's Baby. No, Carrie had the prom scene. With all the pigs... Yes, it was Sissy Spacek, I'm sure. Is that much blood? Jesus. Okay, hold... 5, okay? 5 minutes. He hangs up. I need to go deal with the thing, he says. He opens an Art Deco bureau in black lacquer and brushed aluminum, pulls out a stack of scrubs, sizes you up for a second, and then tosses you a pair. He rummages around in a bin until he finds a lanyard with a picture that looks kind of like you. Wear these and no one will pay attention to you. You're in the top left. Top left? The lanyard has an aluminum key attached to it. In the morgue. Don't worry, it's not cold. No sunlight, and everyone down there works for me, so you're safe. Get a feel for the place. Director Corelli's office is guarded even at night, so I'm going to need you to look around for a way in. Once you're ready, we'll sneak inside and plant all this incriminating evidence on her computer. Right now I need to go deal with something. Show yourself out. You change, stuff your regular clothes into your suitcase, and head to the morgue. Your slab in the upper left looks cozy. It's made up like a hospital bed, with sheets and everything. You slept in worse places. You're not alone in the morgue, and that evening you meet the locals. The skeletally thin Rita May is a caitiff of Ventru descent, a vain and prim fallen aristocrat who can't seem to keep blood off of her lips. Paternoster you've already met. The Nosferatu Stachorius sleeps above you, but he keeps a larger haven in the basement with his rats. The Eagle Prince gets an eagle, and the Rat Beggar gets rats, Rita May quips. Others are in and out. A Japanese Malkavian who claims he was martyred in the 17th century and resurrected by Jesus Christ. 2 thin bloods covered in scabs that never go away. And a woman who might be a ghost or some other kind of thing you don't know much about. They're sad, poisonous little creatures. The increasingly elitist Camarilla would be disgusted to count them as members. You spend the next few nights just getting a feel for the hospital, its deranged layout and its ugly, secret little corners where the sick huddle and the vampires feed. You listen in on doctors and insurance executives as they conspire and embezzle, nurses as they sell opiates to patients and people waiting outside, doped up patients who can keep asking what happened to their cell phones and if their families know they're there. You check out urgent care, where accident victims are forced to sign whatever is put in front of them before they're brought inside. The furnace, where surgeons dispose of evidence of their botched operations. And the lobby, where it seems the same people are always sitting, waiting for help that won't come. And of course, you spend time upstairs, outside Director Corelli's office. The guards never leave, but her security isn't impenetrable. You just need to find a way through. It'd be easier with Paternoster, but he's dealing with one crisis after another. With your scrubs and lanyard, you're able to move freely around the hospital, but you're starting to feel watched. You're invisible to the regular guards, the dull-eyed men and women with the black St. Basil polo shirts and bright yellow tasers, but you keep seeing people with short-cropped hair, military boots, and black windbreakers that are just a little too heavy for the weather outside. The Black Jackets operate out of a sealed, windowless office separated from the mostly abandoned rehab services wing by particle board walls and old office equipment. And they keep looking at you out of the corner of their eyes. The more time you spend in the administrative wing, the more they look at you. It's different people every time, but you're sure they're professionals. You're not sure they know what you are, but there are too many of them, and they follow you too closely whenever you're in the public areas of St. Basil's. You don't want to approach the director's office until you know more, but you'll have to be careful. Too many mistakes will expose you, and Paternoster's followers, a clear violation of the Masquerade. Okay, so we got our into technology. Oh, can you use your phone to research who the guards are? No. No. Don't want to do that. I tracked down some tools. I'm going to drill through the wall between the old rehab services office and their office. I'll have to be smart to find the right spot to drill. The obvious danger with this plan is that someone's going to spot you wheedle-wielding a hole in the wall, punch through the particle board, drag you into the guard office, and kick your ass. The trick is drilling through the right spot, and of course not using noisy power tools. It takes you less than an hour to track down some old tools down near the furnace. You spend a few minutes oiling the rusty hand drill, then you head to the empty rehab service office and get to work. You have no difficulty finding a perfect spot to drill. You make a hole and then peer through the crack. This is perfect. You see an office with 4 guards, and all of them are facing away from you. The room is brightly lit. Yours is dark. It looks like the hole you're making is beneath some kind of shelf. You carefully widen the hole until you can see clearly and take photos. You can only see one laptop screen, but it tells you everything you need to know. The guard clicks from information on opioid drug prices to emails requesting shipments to various cities in Arizona to a road map of the Southwest to text messages from a nurse here in St. Basil's. And it all comes together. These aren't Second Inquisition assassins or some kind of specialized police task force. They're just running drugs. Security is heavy because St. Basil's is a pit, and there are all kinds of junkies outside. That's all. You snap a few pictures and soon you have everything you need. You head back to your office next to the morgue and run a few searches on everything you saw in the guard room. That lets you confirm two things. First, yes, the people that you were looking at were affiliated with an illicit opioid smuggling ring a few years back through a now dissolved private security company called Roadrunner. Meep meep. And while they've changed their name, they're definitely back to their old tricks. Second, no. They have no connections you can find to the SI. You try names, aliases, previous military or police affiliations, even their equipment. Nothing connects the two groups. So that's a relief. The Roadrunner guards are busier now, but they're not paying any attention to you. You spend a few nights scouting the hospital director's office, figuring out ways to get inside. Pattermuster has been unavailable for several nights, even though you've made it clear you'll both need to act soon to make the upload. He returns to the morgue before 7 p.m., just as you're getting dressed after a shower. "I want to know," the Bruja shouts back over his shoulder, his ragged voice echoing down the halls. "Answers, or you're cut off." The thin, pitiful wails of the ghouls reach your ears as you shrug into your silkscreen jacket. "Denied vitae, the blood of vampires. St. Basil's ghouls will soon resume aging if they don't go mad from withdrawal first." Sounds like Pattermuster knows how to keep his retainers in line. The Bruja stomps past you, his eyes burning, and slams his fist into one of the slab doors, denting the metal. Then he rips it off its hinges and flings it against the far wall. You know the reputation of the rebels for their terrible fury, so you wait for this storm to pass. Finally, Pattermuster squeezes his temples and crumples against the wall of the morgue. He ditched his scrubs for a tweed jacket and a bow tie, like a mid-century doctor on holiday. "What happened?" you ask. "Rita May's dead," he says. Rita May. The painfully thin caitiff slept in the slab Pattermuster just tore apart. "Someone cut her head off. I found the body last night. I was stuck outside the hospital with it all day. I'm going to find out who did this, Wretch, and I'm going to kill him." He glares at you with red-rimmed eyes, as if you might be responsible. You're not sure how you have time for this, but Pattermuster looks haunted. I know some people in the comments to the YouTube playthrough are annoyed at me for not using blood sorcery. But it's just one of those things, like, you have the tools in the box, don't use them if you don't have to. Because you have a limited amount of time. You gotta save blood sorcery for when things are like, like when things get real. So, I think that would be the same with any discipline. Yeah, the hunger's a problem when you fuel abilities. Absolutely. You don't want to rely too much on it. Show me the body. I'll run an impromptu medical examination and autopsy to see if I can learn anything. The headless, emaciated corpse is waiting for you on a metal gurney beneath a fluorescent lamp. Older vampires crumble to bones or dust upon final death, but Rita May was young. Decomposition is noticeable, but the body is still intact. The head was severed using a sharp, heavy blade. Not a claw, which is always a possibility. "No one's borrowed Duncan or Connor," Pattermuster says, patting his invisible swords. The other noticeable injury is the puncture mark in the back that pierced the heart. Use tweezers to pull splinters out of the flesh. "Staked," Pattermuster says. Discounting the unlikely possibility that Rita May fell out of a window and landed on an upside-down table leg, that narrows down the search to people who know how to paralyze a vampire. But more importantly, there's a noticeable deformation around Rita May's back. Whoever slammed a stake into her back did it with superhuman force. That narrows it down further. Someone used their undead strength to guarantee that the stake would pierce flesh and muscle to reach its target. Finally, though you have no head to examine, you can now see minor wounds around the clavicle, just below the clean severing line. Corrosion caused by Rita Mae's blood crumbling upon her final death, her body? Maybe. But you also see similar wounds on her toes and ankles, and one on her palm. You examine her clothes. A long dress, open-toed sandals. The dress is chewed up at the hem. "Oh," Paternoster says. "I know what those are. They're rat bites." You nod. Whoever destroyed Rita Mae summoned creatures of the night to attack her, then drove a stake into her back with superhuman strength. Any powerful vampire could develop those powers, but there aren't any powerful vampires here, except Paternoster. And he doesn't control rats. Stacorius does. The Nosferatu. It's easy to forget how fast one of the rebels can move. You could probably keep pace with him, but you're not ready to burn Vitae just yet. Paternoster flashes down the hallway and then down the stairs into Stacorius' private haven. He's a black outline in a glow of a single yellow bulb. And then the bats descend. And then the bats get torn to pieces, because Paternoster pulls his two katanas out of nothing and turns into an undead Cuisinarch for a few seconds. The bats patter to the ground, halved or quartered. Paternoster flicks Duncan and Connor, splashing blood on the walls and ceilings, and then keeps going. You step carefully so you don't slip as the Bruja stalks forward, covered in blood and wings. Then Stacorius bolts out of the shadows, crackling the tiles with the unnatural strength of his jump. Paternoster dodges faster than you can track and slams both his swords through the Nosferatu's ribcage. Stacorius clatters and screams as he tumbles end over end with both of the swords through his chest. He rolls to a stop at your feet. You can feel the rebel's fury boiling off of him. This isn't just mindless rage, but righteous disgust at what the sewer rat has done. "Murderer," Paternoster whispers. He wrenches the swords out of Stacorius, twisting them as they come out, and the fallen vampire groans in pain.
"She was... Rita Mae betrayed you, Master, not me,"
Stacorius says.
"She was moving opiates with the Roadrunners, those black jacket guards. She realized I knew she would have..."
"We don't destroy people for what they might do," Paternoster says. "Are you a prince?" He kicks Stacorius across the dark and dingy room. He smashes through a chair before rolling to a halt outside of a rusted filing cabinet. But then the rebel sees you and stops. Perhaps the word prince made him hesitate. His authority is considerable here in his domain, but Paternoster is no prince. You don't represent the Prince of Tucson, let alone whoever runs Phoenix after the SI and the Beckoning depopulated it. But Prince Lettow will want a full accounting of what happened here. That's a complication for both you and Paternoster. "So," he says, looking down at Stacorius and gritting his teeth to master his rage, "what would a real prince do?" Oh, I like that. Okay. Those file cabinets are probably full of data on the Roadrunners I can turn into resources. I check. And if so, I tell Paternoster to destroy him. You nudge the mangled sewer rat out of the way and check the file folders within. This is exactly what you're looking for. The folder contains hard copies about the Roadrunner agent's distribution network. You're already losing control of the creatures here, you tell Paternoster offhandedly as you commit the contents of the folder to memory. You can't be perceived as weak. Hardly justice, Paternoster tells Stacorius. But Wretch is right about you, isn't he?
"Don't pretend you act for the sake of justice,"
Stacorius says.
"End it. I'm tired of walking dirty hallways, drinking diseased blood. You were always my jailer, Patermuster, but you'll never be my judge.
Patermuster snarls and takes the Nosferatu's head with a one-handed cut. Head and body tumble to the cracked floor and immediately start to rot. Thank you, Wretch, Patermuster says. I got so wrapped up in thoughts of justice that I almost forgot to protect myself. You nod, still studying the files. You and Patermuster finish your investigation by cataloging everything in Stercorius' private haven and making sure there's nothing valuable. There's little of value or interest, but Patermuster gets a sense for how little he really knows about the goings-on in his own hospital. Finally, the two of you head back to the morgue. It's been a successful night, though the moment the Rita May mystery has been solved, Patermuster starts worrying out loud about the promised expansion of the hospital. St. Basil's Hospital Morgue, Phoenix, Arizona, night of November 25th. It has to be tonight. Wednesdays are frantic all day, then quiet all night, with frequent call-outs among the St. Basil guards. The Roadrunner guards are also unusually quiet on Wednesdays, since they're busiest on the weekends and lie low in between activity cycles. Thank you. After the destruction of Rita May and the revelation of her involvement with the opioid. I just lost the ability to speak. The opioid sales, St. Basil's kindred have been subdued, which is good. They'll stay out of trouble. You and Patermuster have spent enough nights surveying Director Corelli's office that you have a good sense of its layout. It's at the far end of the executive administration wing, behind a door that's locked and guarded the moment the director leaves in the evening until she returns an hour after dawn. There are normally 2 guards, except on Wednesdays when only one is on duty. The only other entrance is through a high, narrow window that you'd have to climb down from the ceiling to reach. The office itself is sparse, with an old computer, a meeting table, and an old metal filing cabinets full of hard copies that doctors and hospital administrators constantly have to access. No wonder she wants to upgrade this place. The computer is an ancient desktop model, which makes it unexpectedly secure. You'll have to physically access it. The good news is that Patermuster clung to the wall outside the window and watched Director Corelli enter the password last night, so you have access. The executive administration wing is blanketed with cameras, but that's where Patermuster comes in. His office is right down the hall from the security monitoring station, and he's waiting to throw the big reset switch, which will give you the time you need to act. Then all you'll need to do is reach the director's old desktop unit and enter the password. No one has discovered you here at St. Basil's. If you do well breaking into the office, who knows what else you might be able to exploit in there. It might be best to avoid easy and functional solutions like mental compulsion in favor of testing your skills. Let's see. How are we doing food-wise? Oh, okay. Hunger! Res and technology. Calm plus persuasion. Oh, plus persuasion and technology. Yeah, Dominate could make this a cakewalk for sure. Res and technology. That's 5. That should be pretty good, I would think. Yeah, I might as well grab a bite first. Tonight might be my last chance to feed. I do that before the break-in. Oh. Oh. Okay. I prey on the sick and infirm while they sleep. I'll need to decipher their medical charts to make sure I don't target anyone with diseases of the blood. The chronically ill in St. Basil's are kept at a dreary, low-ceilinged ward, out of the way of the hospital personnel. They're often grouped 4 or 8 to a room and neglected by the nursing staff for hours or even days. This makes stealth a non-issue. There's always a room full of unconscious people. The only trick is figuring out who is safe to drink from by reading the old-fashioned binders clipped on their beds. Most diseases cannot harm your lifeless organs, but there are certain blood-based pathogens that can leave you physically weakened. But a quick examination of the medical charts turns up nothing you need to worry about. You find a particularly healthy-looking specimen recovering from a staph infection and sink your fangs into his neck, savoring the way the blood mingles with the tainted flesh. You lick the wound clean and pad out of the ward, sated. Alright. I think that we can do this. Resolve and technology. So that's 5 right now. And if I do calm plus the thing about it is with calm plus persuasion and technology, that is 6 if I pose as a doctor. So what do you guys think I should do? I don't want to use Dominate. Should we just use our Resolve and Technology and hack the door, or should we act like a doctor? Yeah, just good old hacking. Using that 10-minute break. I think that might too. The plus persuasion and technology is kind of strange to me. It could go wrong. Let's hack the planet, as Kat says. Paternoster was able to uncover the director's computer password, but the office door uses a keycard system not used anywhere else in the hospital. And worse, you haven't been able to get close enough to look at it, so you'll be going in blind. You hurry to the executive administration offices, which are empty except for a custodian emptying the recycle bins, and settle in to watch the guard from one of the few positions that isn't under camera surveillance. When he leaves to take a piss, you text Paternoster and he kills the cameras. Then you get to work. You relax when you realize that this isn't a high security model. It's just a pretty standard keycard reader, like the ones they use in hotels. Your phone isn't ideal for this kind of work, fortunately. You carry plenty of peripherals. There's nothing on this lock that prevents you from pulling up its memory, no authentication requirements, so you just mess around for a minute until you find the door open code. The door pops open. You're in. You pull all the wires and junk out of the card reader and slip inside. The old CPU boots right up, and the password works. Most of St. Basil's feels like it was entombed in 2003, but the computer has a USB port, and you slide your weapon right in. You get a text from Paternoster. Upload the virus. Get everything you can from that computer. He's watching from his own computer, or one of his tech-savvy lackeys is. There's probably someone downstairs who knows you're not here to upload a virus. It's just a program that plants incriminating information in a number of spreadsheets accessible by other members of the hospital staff. So now you're faced with a question. According to Prince Lettow, the falsified records on this USB, once injected into the hospital's old and proprietary database program, will trigger such a financial meltdown that Director Corelli's future plans for redevelopment will be scrapped for at least a decade, leaving Paternoster and his creatures to continue their unlives in peace. If you do that, both Paternoster and Lettow will be grateful. Or you could transfer whatever Julian sent to you along with the USB. That'll let the two of you effectively take over the hospital. Wealth and glory will follow, if you believe Julian. He does seem to like you. Of course, Paternoster will react the way Bruja always react to betrayal. It'll be one hell of a fight, and he has those swords. Or you could just get rid of these creatures. You're no staunch humanist, but isn't there something pathetic about Paternoster and his caitiff scavenging for blood here in St. Basil's? You would make enemies of everyone if you let the redevelopment go through, but St. Basil's would stop being such a black hole of despair and disease. Well, we have good stats with both Julian and the Camarilla. So I think we can go ahead and probably upset Julian for right now. I upload the USB contents and help Patermuster stop the hospital expansion. I need to prove my loyalty to the Camarilla. Not to mention, we'll also have Patermuster as an ally ourselves. You know what I mean? If we go ahead and follow Julian's instructions, we actually we probably tick off the Camarilla a little bit, and Patermuster hates us, and we'll probably have to fight him. I'd much rather have a combat, savvy, katana-wielding Bruja on my side. So it takes less than a minute to upload the virus. Doesn't seem like anyone else is going to check in on this office soon, so once that's done, you also transfer a bunch of data from the director's computer onto your phone, as Patermuster requested. After a few minutes, you've decided that you've taken enough risk for one night. The door has a peephole, so you wait around until the guard goes on another break, and then leave the way you came in. You reunite with Patermuster down in the morgue, where he's pumping his fist as the thin blood on a gaming laptop watches with a worried expression because she can't tell if he's incredibly happy or insanely mad. "Wretch," Patermuster shouts, his eyes full of blood. "You did it. You brilliant boy, you did it. We're safe. Oh, thank God we're safe." He pulls you into an embrace, then punches a brick wall because he's so happy, showering all three of you in dust. You transfer the contents of Director Corelli's hard drive to the Thin Blood's gaming laptop. "Get on that, would you?" Patermuster tells the techie. Then he shakes your hand while handing you a roll of 20s. "And you, Wretch, you deserve more than money. Stay here for a few nights and I'll teach you some tricks I know. How's that?" Ooh. Patermuster is eager to teach, or really to offer you whatever you need. He makes sure you have plenty of blood. The night after your successful job, he's eager to teach you. Well, celerity, obfuscate, potence, and presence. That's cool that he has obfuscate. Normally the Bruja have celerity, potence, and presence. I don't particularly want any of those. Yeah, I'd take the money. I was thinking the same thing, Vossros. Honestly, Patermuster, I just prefer a cash payment. Really? But look! His swords appear, then reappear. It'd take you months to learn the disappearing sword trick. Go fix up your BMW. He hands you a fat roll of 20s. I'll keep you in business for a while. You're treated like an honored guest for the next few nights. Patermuster makes sure you have easy access to blood and none of the creeps hassle you. You roll out of St. Basil's parking lot with your veins full of blood and your pockets full of cash, and head back toward Tucson. So it looks like you've stopped the hospital's planned renovation. Prince Lettow will be happy, though it means you've further entangled yourself with the Camarilla. A few miles southeast of town, you pull over and swap out the license plates. When you pass the Motel 6 where you dropped off your old phone, you see that it's been burnt to the ground. It's been leveled so thoroughly you have to check your map to make sure you're at the right place because it's just gone. You stop about half an hour outside of Phoenix to sweep your BMW for bugs. You don't find anything unusual. Looks like no one really paid attention to your car, but your thoughts turn to everything you've learned about the Roadrunner guards and their opioid smuggling. You certainly could put what you've learned to use. Aha! I turn everything over to Julian. He can't have the hospital, but he can have the smugglers. That's how we get in good with either of them, I'd say. We could go ahead and drain their accounts and just, not have to worry about money right now. But I figure those hunters are going to keep on coming. So I can check for SI contacts in these organizations, will secure the Masquerade and insulate me from them. Meh. So what do you guys think? Should we go ahead and I'm asking the chorus here, kind of like a Malkavian. Should I go ahead and turn everything over to Julian and have that kind of smooth over the wound? Or should we go ahead and get some money? How much money do we have right now, actually? We got 7,000 right now. Kath says money. Bossero says money. Most people are saying, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and rock out Julian. You can't have the hospital, but you can have the smugglers. You organize and recheck everything you've learned, then ship it all off to Julian. His emailed response is just a exclamation point. You think that means he's happy. The smugglers will either end up imprisoned or their assets seized by Julian, or turned into one of his shell corporations. Either way, the Banu Hakim has a new toy to play with. You're back in Tucson by 3 a.m. Another job done. Early the next night, you roll past the Viper. Once one of Prince Lettow's people recognizes you and hands you your payment. You take a moment to make sure the money adds up. You return to your penthouse and park the BMW. After a day of fitful dreams, you throw on your courier's outfit and boots and get ready for another night. You make sure the place is secure, then take your private elevator down to your private garage. Here it comes. Wait for it. Garage floor, the little robot voice says. Oh yes, you've arrived. So it's a little annoying when the door slides open and Julian Sim is standing in your favorite garage next to your BMW, leaning against his metallic-hued sports car. Julian is wearing a Nicolas Cage dragon shirt under a zip-up glitch hoodie with the Rebel Alliance logo from Star Wars. Are you still living in a parking garage? The Banu Hakim says, glancing around at the private garage you own. Loser. Nice Fisker. Can I have one? Never hurts to ask. If the next few nights go according to plan, I'll buy you a used car lot. A nice one with lots of understated luxury. Not like that auto lot I see you skulking around all the time. But first, from the bottom of my dead little heart, thank you for that last job you did for me. The last job. That silver knife has caused more trouble for my enemies than a whole pack of thralls could, Julian says. First, it distracted Jasper Knowles so he could find me while I was in Denver. Then Prince Lettow's enforcer, Dove, spent 2 weeks investigating the pawn shop where I dropped it off instead of bothering me. And then you drove it out to that airfield in Texas. Sorry you got into trouble there, but it's not like you ever needed it to succeed. I don't know who grabbed it in the end, but it's still causing trouble. So what does it do? My research has indicated that the knife has no particular powers, but Julian might know more. And I'm curious. Not a damn thing, Julian says. Jasper forges the master his fear of fire and dominate his beast. Which is honestly pretty badass for a guy who looked like a secular professor in a straight-to-DVD Christian movie. Well, it wasn't an artifact of blood sorcery. Still, once one of us starts chasing a weird object, they all start doing it. And once I realized what was happening, I made use of everyone's stupidity. Sorry if you got shot at. So it was just a ruse, a swindle, a hustle, a con, Julian says. The knife had no power, but that usurper did. That's why I killed him. Ooh. So Julian doesn't seem to want to grab things unless they benefit him for something. So if we have for his crimes a professional rivalry and ideological dispute, Julian wouldn't care about those things. For his books of sorcery, though, many sorcerers are greedy and small-minded instead of focusing on the true benefits their power can bring. Wretch, I'm not gonna lie. After I killed him, I stole a bunch of magic books. But I didn't kill him to take his stuff. I didn't kill him because he tried to kill me, though he did. I did it because I'm a child of Hakim, and we judge the unrighteous. There's that strange gleam in Julian's eyes again. Some nights it seems like Julian Sim couldn't be a worse representative of his religion, or of the larger culture complex that surrounds and sustains Clan Banu Hakim. And some nights your old friend looks just like the Angel of Death. Why don't you tell me more about your plans? I'm just collecting information to hand to Prince Lettow. Actually, no. Do you really believe in all that? I'm not sure I ever did, and I've never been able to square Julian's piety with the rest of him. I don't expect you to understand me, Wretch. You're not Banu Hakim. Of course, I'm a weird mistake, an offshoot that my clan immediately regretted. My sire planned to exert the clan's influence in Southeast Asia, starting with Malaysia, which makes sense. Lots of Muslims, meaning there's some common ground there. He was disappointed in me from the first night. Even my piety offended him, so I stole his grimoires and left for America, and you know the rest. Well, not all of the rest. Not what I'm working on and how you've helped me get there. You wait. Well, you weren't able to give me St. Basil's Hospital or access to Camp Scheffler's data on the blood trade, Julian says. Nonetheless, I've had to forge my own path. I retrieved copies of Camp Scheffler's data for my own use, and I've taken a few smaller hospitals. But why? You ask. Because I'm going to replace the Masquerade with something else. Piece by piece, so slowly that no one notices until it's happened, Julian says. The old ways of hiding before the First Inquisition prevented humans from understanding. The Masquerade prevents them from knowing. I'm going to prevent them from caring. How? Mind control? That's the only thing that knocks humans into line. That or threats. Both work fairly well, though. Some of that, yes, but my plan is a little more subtle than laser beams to the brain. The first time I saw the US as a real place, not just a film set on the other side of my TV, was the Rodney King riots. I barely spoke English then, but wasn't that amazing? People saw what was happening right in front of them. Cops beating the shit out of some guy, and they didn't believe. Did you understand the power of that when it happened? The revelation it represented? Before you can answer, Julian bangs on the hood of his Fisker and says, "All people want is a fucking story, Wretch. Not the truth, not an ideology. They want to know who the main character is. TV told us as kids, cops, doctors, the rich. Those are the people who matter, even if they're bad. They're the ones with the point of view. If you control the point of view, you matter. And that's it." Kind of reminds me of the Tool song Vicarious. Julian, every time the Camarilla tried to do anything with media except cover our existence up, it blew up in their faces. You're repeating an old mistake. The Camarilla only reacts, Julian says. Elders are constantly seeing developments, misunderstanding them, and trying to control them, because all they can do is control, influence the corrupt. They can't build. I want to make something new. I want to become the point of view. Do you understand? Imagine, you turn on the TV and there's a show about rich assholes and they're terrible people, but it's about them, right? The story is about them. So the real world starts to become about them. We need to make the story of the world about us. Through influence and manipulation and art and a bit of good old-fashioned mind control, we need to make a new point of view. A new eye through which mortals view the world. They can't understand it's us at first, but eventually they'll understand. And they'll love us, because the eye through which they see the world, it's us. But to even begin this project, I need 3 things. Data, influence, and an experimental subject. Well, 4 things. Data, influence, an experimental subject, and no sorcerers conducting unholy experiments using research I need. And for a moment he burns with an aura of righteousness. But then Julian turns back into the code rat, you know, as he digs the toe on his sneaker into the ground and glances uncomfortably at you. But there's another reason I got rid of Jasper Knowles, Banu Hakim says uncomfortably. He knew Aira, or Ayla. November 1918. Wait, hold on. Oh, dear God, you're still with us! The warlock jumps to his feet at the little outdoor cafe, rattling the teacups as you emerge from the desert behind the Gangrel pilot. Dear God, you're still with us. And who is this? The warlock asks, switching from English to French. Excuse me, where are my manners? I am Jasper Knowles, gentleman magician. He bows, awkward in his desert robes. And Lettow, you look shorter without your airplane. I lost it in the desert, the Gangrel says. But I made a friend. He isn't like the Outlanders you've met before in your long life. You can't help but think. Lettow of Braclaw is sophisticated without being pompous, charming without being cloying. But perhaps you're just not thinking clearly because you've just walked across half the Sahara with him after your planes crashed, and because you're almost mad with hunger. And who is your friend? Jasper asks. This is Ayla, Lettow says, of Clan Banu Hakim. Ah, your enemy, our enemy. Except I have news, my Outlander friend. I just got news from the Dove of Mordros. She sent it via radio. What a brave new world we've entered, of instantaneous communication. Did you ever think we would see it? Anyway, the war is over. It's over almost everywhere now, I think, though news still travels by donkey cart in some places. I'm sure that will all change, though, in this century. He looks at you. I'm afraid you've lost, young lady. Or at least the Ottomans have lost. How will the Assamites adapt, I wonder? Wretch? Wretch? You still with us? Morocco fades away, replaced by Arizona. Ayla's thoughts withdraw, vanishing deep into your marrow when they linger like a dull ache in your bones. Now remember, they diablerized Ayla, so there you go. We need to figure out who knows and stop them by any means necessary. Breaking skulls is more your line of work than mine, Julian says. We need to think carefully about what happens next. You've helped me out a bit these past few weeks, Wretch, but there's more to be done. The Camarilla trust you, and they're going to need your help. The Second Inquisition wants the Camarilla gone from the southwest, and they have the power to do it. You need to understand. Every Canaanite needs to understand. The Masquerade is breaking down. Do you think it can last until the end of this century? Ooh. Huh. I'm not a fan of any of these options, to tell you the God's honest. Ugh. So out of all of these options, I would have to say Lettow has done well for me so far. I won't let my guard down, but I head out. Every Elysium is dangerous, but Prince Lettow seems to enforce something that resembles a coherent system of laws. You hop in your BMW, watch Riga for a moment to make sure she's taking you to the Viper, and then speed off. You get valet parking this time, which is nice, but the swole guy in the Ed Hardy shirt you've seen before looks haunted. You don't think he's a blood doll, so it's not like he's anemic, but his face looks gray and tired, like he's been up for nights. You check your suit for lint or wrinkles, but the bouncer just waves you in through the glass-lined VIP entrance. You can get used to this. The crowd on the dance floor is oddly subdued, as if some malaise pouring down from above has infected the mortals, but the music is still pounding, and the crowd toward the middle of the dance floor is a blur of limbs and sweat. You spot a familiar face in the crowd, a delivery girl from the Malaysian restaurant attached to fine motor skills. She has to be Julian's contact. Is there another name on one of the cards Julian gave you? Here it is. Nadia. The upstairs Elysium is crowded with vampires and retainers whispering to each other in worried tones. You don't see the eagle prince. Riga circles overhead, then perches on one of the cacti that cover the hidden roof of the Viper.
Good, you're here.
Dove, Prince Lettow's Nosferatu second in command, is studying the stars through the cacti as the city lights up here are dimmed through whatever sorcery has touched this place. She's wearing rough, old leather over her powerful physique, like what a motorcycle courier would have worn just after they invented motorcycles. Dove's skull-like face is always ugly, but you can see the marks of recent and incomplete regeneration. She was burned by fire as sunlight and hasn't finished repairing herself. The vibe here is bad. What's wrong? I'm not exactly Camarilla, but the Viper is becoming home away from home. I don't want to lose it.
Fires of the Inquisition, boy,
Dove says.
Not even Lettow is so old he saw the last one, but we're gonna see this one.
Then the Nosferatu's eyes follow a maroon Toyota AE86 as it wheezes into the parking lot. Carlos hops out and runs around to the passenger door. He and the guy in the Ed Hardy shirt try to help a third man out, but he's obviously dead. You recognize the third man. He's one of Tucson's ghoul couriers. He drives, or drove, a yellow Chevy Nova SS. He cuts you off. Well, fuck him, but why is he dead? Carlos joins you and Dove on the roof a minute later. He's wearing a cheap suit smeared with blood. Looking at the outfit, Dove asks her ghoul,
"How was Eternal Affairs?"
"Oh, right. Carlos is a cop." The ghoul shakes his head. "I'm suspended with pay. They're everywhere, Dove. My contacts in Seattle are gone. Do you know what that means for the blood trade? It means... Aw, shit, is this guy still walking around? Why aren't you dead yet, Wretch? Everyone else is."
"Carlos, go find Prince Lettow,"
Dove says. The ghoul blanches but does as he's told.
"And you,"
Dove says, rounding on you.
"Would you like to know who here at the Viper works for the Second Inquisition?" "Because I'd like to fucking know," Dove says. "Someone deleted all the records in our monitoring station."
She slouches against the railing, then stands up straight, determined not to look weak around someone she seems to trust.
"Yes, I have spies everywhere, Wretch," she says. "To my surprise, you actually seem honest, and you've helped us. I respect Prince Lettow, but he's too open. He holds to the old ways that the Camarilla used to have before the Beckoning called most of our elders away, and everything went to shit. He tolerates anarchs. He works with fringers and independents like you. And to be fair, you've done well, but the others haven't, and now most of them are dust. And the information they were carrying is in our enemies' hands. How can you let people pass in and out at a time of war?
I think Lettow is right to try reopening the Camarilla. It'll grow frail and useless if it's just a country club for the vampire elite.
I'm not going to argue politics,
Dove says.
There's work to do.
Catching spies? You ask? Looking for a spy might be a good chance to spy for Julian, though you hesitate to betray the Camarilla outright.
I don't expect you to catch a traitor hidden in the wainscoting, Dove says, but you're a fresh set of eyes, and Prince Lettow trusts you. Use those fresh eyes. Look for anything strange and report back to me. Let's solve this problem before we all have to flee to Seattle.
Seattle? I've heard something about it being the center of the blood trade, a sort of land of opportunity. Maybe Dove knows more.
Tucson was a conduit between Camp Scheffler and Seattle, which is going to be running low on supplies soon. Prince Cross should have sent a courier by now to ask what happened. Maybe things are bad up there, too. They're bad everywhere. Some nights I just want to buy a townhouse in San Francisco and retire. But we can't do that, can we? Find the spy, Wretch.
There are only a few dozen people up here in the Elysium, but the Viper sprawls like a medieval castle. And even with the mood subdued, there are hundreds of people downstairs. You wonder how to approach this investigation and how you can exploit any information you find. One thing is for sure, the SI is getting dangerous. If you don't find any clues, the spy will escape with information about the local kindred, including you. Letting that information leave the Viper is a clear violation of the Masquerade. Well, let's see. Intelligence and academics. I think that's probably one of the places that we're strongest at. Yes, indeed. Yeah, we could go ahead and tell the Camarilla about Nadia, but we ain't doing that right now.
Sure, the Nosferatu says. Talk to Alexander in his office.
You track down Prince Lettow's ancient ghoul, Alexander, who permits you access to the Viper's public records so long as nothing leaves his office. After an hour of meticulous research and organization, followed by another hour on Alexander's old-fashioned calculator, you uncover a consistent discrepancy every Monday and Thursday. Who works the till at the Viper Mondays and Tuesdays? Or Thursdays? You ask Alexander.
Lana,
Alexander says.
Retainer to Bridget, the Ventru. Good woman. Ran into some trouble with Victor, the wholesaler in Tucson, a while back. But now she's out of trouble. Scot-free. Or Irish-free. It is a pun, since Bridget is Irish.
He smiles, revealing his gray teeth. You slide the ledger across the table to Alexander.
Shit,
the old ghoul says.
Maybe not. We're bringing all of this to Dove.
Dove is impressed by your work and thanks you. It's not like you caught the spy, if there even is a single Second Inquisition spy operating at the Viper, but you just removed one source of suspicion, got rid of a compromised employee, and saved the Viper some money. As midnight approaches, Prince Lettow is yet to make his appearance, though Carlos has notified him of your arrival. Dove talks with the other kindred, who are worried about a courier who is now 2 nights late. There's a ripple of excitement from the kindred when Alexander appears and speaks with Dove. Rumor has it that Lettow will appear soon. Everyone ends up waiting another hour for Lettow to appear. There's a flutter of nervous excitement as someone else appears at the steps, but it's just Dove, carrying a blood-dotted backpack.
Who still has a phone?
She says.
I said who still has a phone?
A few people hold up their flip phones. Someone has a Samsung Galaxy.
Throw them out, Dove says. We're done with phones. That's how they've tracked our last couriers. Our tricks don't work anymore.
He starts working through the crowd. You're in the back. Let's see. So I think we need to keep our phone. But it's going to draw the SI toward the Viper. So yeah, we can buy a new one later. We can always get that laptop, the Raspberry Pi. Bummer. I tossed my phone. Don't want to get hunted down. You toss your flip phone into the backpack. Once all the phones are collected, Prince Lettow finally ascends to the top rooftop Elysium. Despite the aura of fear that pervades the Viper, the prince is immaculate. He strides confidently past you, not even looking your way. He wears a white cotton suit, his unruly blonde hair pulled back by a black ribbon. 2 armadillos follow him as he works the crowd, trying to get the panicky kindred to calm down. Then he spends a few minutes talking to Dove. His eyes are fixed on the eastern horizon, though Dove looks west toward the highway. He finally notices you. His gray eyes are calm and steady. It's like none of the worry that pervades Tucson is allowed to touch its prince. "Come with me, Wretch," he says. "We have to discuss Julian Sim." It's not like any muscle shows up to move you along. Lettow doesn't need it. He just waves you through the glass box overlooking the dance floor to a short hallway lined with iron gates. The gate opens and Alexander steps through. He bows to the prince.
Sir, one of the security staff has absconded with a blueprint of the Viper, he says.
Of course, Lettow says, his eyes narrowing in anger. It wasn't that new athlete or the mortals dealing painkillers downstairs. Send my predecessor's childer to investigate his apartment before dawn. We may still catch our spy. Right now I must speak to Wretch. The hallway ends in double doors that open on the onto the Eagle Prince's private office. Make yourself comfortable, Lettow says, gesturing to a selection of overstuffed armchairs and settling beside a heavy oak desk. This place is a hall of memories and mementos. Paintings, photos, old weapons, strange treasures. Many of them of great antiquity and beauty. You see a tapestry labeled the Lumpego, books in several languages, and trinkets of all kinds. How you been, Lettow? A bit of flirting might be fun. No. And that's all well and good, but I scan the room for a way out in case Lettow is planning something more than a chat. Actually, no. The curiosity thing I've always kind of said is his weakness. So many memories. I explore what Lettow has seen and where he's been. An oil painting of Lettow of Braclaw hangs on one wall. He looks a little younger than he is now. The style reminds you of that Lansdowne portrait of George Washington, complete with wig. Smaller paintings of ancestors and relations cover one wall. The paintings stretch past Lettow's mortal life to the late 19th century. Photographs line another wall. Lettow in a French airman's uniform during the Great War, 1917. Patermuster with Thomas Mann and Bertold Brecht at the restaurant in Santa Monica, 1942. Oh, with Berthold! Cool. Jasper Knowles and Espine the Toreador in Las Vegas, smiling in their tacky outfits, 1960. A grim-looking man in a boxy suit, the Ventrue who once ruled Tucson, with a smiling and golden-haired Donald Trump in the foreground. Lettow a dove half hidden behind, 1987. A beautiful black-haired woman on the Spanish Riviera, wearing a sun hat under the light of the full moon, 1920. That night, you poached blood dolls from the Archbishop of Marbella, hid in crumbling fortifications that no mortal had seen in 100 years, and you even flew again. And crashed again, but the Newport 20 got you safely to Gibraltar and the last secret palace of the Banu Hakim in Europe. And then, under the moonlight... Wretch. It's Lettow. Who else would it be? Wretch! The Prince of Tucson calls you back to the 21st century. You grab his desk to avoid falling and look for something in this office. Anything that can recall you to yourself. No, David, the Sabbat are in 5th edition, but they are now quality over quantity, if that makes any sense. There's not a whole lot of Sabbat now, but the Sabbat that are around are, like, terrible kind of thing. So they're not so much a huge sect anymore as just a very dangerous kind of boogeyman. So... We traveled all over the world in those nights, Lettow says, looking at the photos. Like foolish neonates. And it's not like any of us were young, but that's all over now. I'm entombed here. Not even Dove drives anymore. Dove thinks I'm too merciful as prince, Lettow goes on, but I don't punish people for who they are. A friend of mine was embraced unlawfully in Los Angeles, and the prince there, LaCroix, I'm sure you know the story. And I didn't destroy my predecessor's childer, you may have noticed. Indeed, those blue bloods are always skulking around upstairs. Well, except for one, after he conspired to consume Invidia Call. Why, he thought I would tolerate him drinking another vampire's soul just because of his former status. Anyway, I allow clanless into the Elysium and permit thin bloods to traverse my domain and even help them reach Paternoster at St. Basil's Hospital. And in my time as prince, I have never once called a blood hunt. I choose to believe it is because my people respect me and have committed no crimes that make it necessary. My point, Wretch, is that I am not going to punish you simply for working for Julian Sim. Yep, Montross shout out. Calm and persuasion. Okay. Wits and awareness. Crap! Wits and awareness is 4. Composure. Is it composure and persuasion? That's 4. And not going that way. Wits and awareness, manipulation and subterfuge. Seems like 4s across the board, really. So I think that I want to actually feel out the prince's mood and respond appropriately. If he's trying to be honest or trying to bait me into a confession. How do you know Julian? You ask, trying to feel out the prince's mood. Before I was prince, I lobbied to bring Clan Banu Hakim closer to the Camarilla, Prince Lettow says. Under the old Prince of Tucson? You ask? You see the slightest flicker on Lettow's face. That's still a sore spot, but you can use that to your advantage. You keep the subsequent conversation focused on the old prince's downfall, skillfully avoiding the subject of Julian Sim, though it annoys the Eagle Prince to discuss the ugliness around his predecessor's downfall. The Prince of Tucson turns away from you to study a table littered with mementos. Playbills, engine parts, a single cowboy boot, a Koran, a long curved knife, still in its turquoise-studded sheath. He picks it up, testing its weight, then he says, Tell me what you know about Aira. Time to figure out how to survive the night. Intelligence and academics. We gotta go with what's good. Banu Hakim Elder. I recite historical facts and hope that throws Lettow off the scent. You recite facts and historical figures with smooth confidence, describing appearances by Aira from Crusades to the Great War, then tracing her lineage back through the Caliph Elijah Ahmed to Cain himself, if one believes such things. Lettow is impressed and seems convinced that you know about her chiefly through academic curiosity. We knew each other during the war, he says, and for a little time afterward. He points at the photo taken on the Spanish Riviera. What does she have to do with... You point vaguely toward the street somewhere outside, which Dove and Carlos are probably still watching with worried expression as the courier they await does not arrive. Soon, Prince Lettow says. He draws the curved knife, studies the blade, and slides it back into his sheath. Then he steps forward so he's right in front of you. But first, I have a question for you, neonate. And it's important that you answer me quickly and honestly. Do you know that Julian Sim consumed the soul of Aira? Conflicting emotions crash through you. Some of them aren't your own. They're echoes of the elder you devoured alongside Julian Sim. You remember that night. Julian's courage failed him. He encouraged you to finish the work he began, and you did. Julian found her and brought you to her, but he did not consume her. When I asked that you answer me quickly, Prince Lettow says, I did not mean after a suitable period of stupefaction. I like you, Wretch, but that buys you less patience than you might imagine. Everyone's like, throw Julian under the bus! Huh. Oh, Julian found her and brought you, but he didn't consume her. Holy crap. Okay, so we're the only one that did the diablerie. Alright, I know this is going to be an unpopular decision, but we're trying to play both sides here. And I'm actually, hold on, let me look at my stats. Oh god, I'm hungry. Okay. Relationships. See, we're doing great with both of them. I know Julian. He wouldn't do that sort of thing. Also technically true, though I know it's because he flinched at the depravity of the act. Just as you start to speak, someone knocks on the door. Prince Lettow ignores it, narrowing his eyes as he studies your face. You feel the power of his blood, and you remember the years spent hiding, afraid that your aura would reveal what you did. But the spiritual marks of the act have faded. Yeah, because your black veins when you commit diablerie go away after a long time. After a moment, the Prince of Tucson takes a step back, his expression puzzled. The door bangs again. What is it?
We found the last courier.
Dove's voice, flat and hard. The Eagle Prince studies you for another moment, and then opens his office door.
She's dead,
Dove tells Lettow as she enters.
We found her car 2 blocks away. She crawled into one of the safe houses but couldn't reach the phone.
So that's all of them, Lettow says.
I'm here, and Carlos is here.
You are needed here, Lettow snaps. Maybe we'll send Carlos in his Corolla if we have to, but not you.
Did he talk?
Dove asked, gesturing at you. She actually looks a little concerned for your well-being. Lettow stares at you again, his gray's eyes shimmering and his expression different from anything you've seen before. Thoughtful? Or he looks almost dazzled, like someone touched by the kindred's mental arts, but who could influence an elder? He shakes his head. Julian didn't consume Aira, the prince says. I'm sure of it. He stares right at you. And he doesn't figure it out. Or does he? His expression is unreadable, the contemplative gaze of a man who has been dead for over 2 centuries.
Huh,
Dove says.
Didn't expect that. So what do we do about Julian Sim?
He's just some anarch, Lettow says with a dismissive wave of his hand.
But we still don't know where he's operating out of. Isn't that strange? He used to work out of Denver. Where's his lab now? Why don't we know?
We have bigger problems, Lettow says. We have to deal with the SI before we end up like Dallas or Flagstaff.
Well, if you're not going to destroy this neonate, you might as well put him to work,
Dove says. Pay me, and I'll drive whatever you have wherever you need it. Lettow signals for Dove to close the double doors. He offers you a smile that's polite, if slightly strange. Even Dove's mannerisms have changed since your first meeting. It's a strange expression on vampires, and you realize it means they trust you. The Second Inquisition has been quiet for years, Lettow says. You may have noticed the recent downturn in your business as a courier, Wretch. That's because many in the local Camarilla are convinced that they had contained the threat. They started sending emails again, using phones. I did not. That's why the Viper is still standing, while the Elysiums in Flagstaff and Santa Fe and a dozen havens in Dallas are smoking ruins. At least we think they are. There aren't enough couriers left to tell us what happened. I can stop the Second Inquisition. I can hit them so hard that they leave us alone for half a century. But to do that, I need you to make 3 more runs over the course of the next month. These are strictly driving jobs. You'll pick things up or drop them off. I will pay you $5,000 per job, plus inducements for excellent service, of course. And you can deal with them in whatever way you see fit. But they all must be completed within... He looks at Dove.
26 nights,
Dove says. She doesn't elaborate. Okay. Before we discuss the work, you know that the Second Inquisition tried to recruit me, right? I see everything that happens in my town, Wretch, Lettow says. Dove looks shocked.
Can we trust him to...
We can trust him not to work for an organization dedicated to the eradication of all kindred, the prince says. I'm willing to work, but I'll need a lot more information. Like, why the time limit? What happens when it's up? I'm sorry, I keep on leaning out of the shot. I apologize for that, guys.
Just let me stake him on the roof and I'll drive,
Dove says. Ignoring her request, Lettow says, "Oh, did I say the money thing? Oh. Whoops. $9,000 per job. More if you can ever manage to impress Dove. You're not a bad haggler under ordinary circumstances, but you can feel that Lettow is out of patience. Okay. Tell me more, you say. First, the Toreador Delispin runs a nightclub in Dallas, the Prince of Tucson tells you. A courier was supposed to arrive there with information. He never made it. You need to succeed where your predecessor failed. Second, there's a ruined research facility just across the border in Utah. Jasper Knowles and NVIDIA Call were both involved in research there. They did a good job stripping the place, but Knowles left an emergency cache there in case the Inquisition should begin again. I need that cache. And finally, we need to destroy Reremaus.
No!
Dove screams. Other princes would twist their underling's head off for that outburst, but Lettow just raises a hand. His voice is stern, though, when he says, "If that monster awakens, he will march across the desert and draw the attention of every hunter in the United States. Wretch, when you and Julian Sims were fledglings, you provided Reremaus with prey. I need you to transport some scanning equipment to his domain so we can find him." A club in Dallas? The same Dallas that the Second Inquisition just tore through? You're not driving into a literal war zone, Lettow says. It's not like the SI has declared martial law. They have struck at a handful of havens, mostly of fledglings who thought they could start using Facebook again. The Espine has kept her head down and remained safe.
At least we think she has,
Dove says. You just need to drive there. Pick up a suitcase full of recent data, and get back, Lettow says. And what sort of research facility are we talking about? Are you familiar with Biosphere 2, the old research facility about an hour north of here? The prince asks.
Lettow, he's a fledgling. He only knows about the Pauly Shore movie,
Dove says. There were several experiments in maintaining a self-contained ecosystem before Biosphere 2, which is more of a public relations stunt than anything else, Lettow says, ignoring the Nosferatu. The first was conducted by the United States government in the early 1970s in collaboration with a consortium of oil and natural gas companies, once they understood the possibility of a climate apocalypse created by greenhouse gas emissions. They enticed undocumented immigrants with promises of employment, then experimented upon them medically and psychologically in a sealed environment as resources dwindled.
They didn't learn anything,
Dove says. Nothing a good war wouldn't teach you about the limits of human endurance and depravity, Lettow says. But the usurpers who crept into Biosphere 0, as it's called now, learned a great deal. My old friend Jasper buried an emergency cache there full of his discoveries. Now it's an emergency. I want it. And now I need you to be very clear about what I'm supposed to do about Reremaus. No offense, but elders are dangerous and unpredictable.
Isn't Reremaus technically a Methuselah?
Dove asks. No, he's only 7th generation. Reremaus, Rassilon, Androvicus, Meloket, Absmalad, Zilla, Cain. At least if you believe those Russian Bruja.
Which I never will,
Dove says.
Wretch,
Wretch, the Prince of Tucson says. We need to know Reremaus' movements if we are to destroy him before he rises again. Because if he does, the Second Inquisition will focus 100% of their forces here. Right now, they're applying only a little more pressure than usual, and we're in shambles. And that Nosferatu is getting restless. I need you to transport a ground-penetrating radar kit to the desert where he roams. Some of my people will be waiting, but you don't need to stay. Just drop off the equipment at our base. They're deep in the desert, though, so be prepared for a rough road. Oh, I think we're going to be prepared for a rough road either way. Well, we got an interesting choice ahead of us, guys, and I'll tell you what, we're going to go ahead and make that choice at the beginning of the next stream. We were able to get our 3 original missions done, and now we're doing these ones for $9,000 a pop, and we are juggling our relationship with both the Camarilla and Julian. Now, are we going to be able to keep juggling? No idea, but we're going to keep on going until we can. So I do want to thank you guys very much for watching. We'll go ahead and pick this up next time. If you guys haven't followed the Twitch channel, please do so. I try and stream on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays with random times in between. And if you're watching the replay of this on YouTube, I have a link to the Twitch channel in the description below, as well as a link to my Extra Life page where I'm raising money for my local Children's Miracle Network hospital via the amazing Extra Life charity. So please check that out if you feel so inclined. Like, share, subscribe. You guys know the drill there. And we will see you next time. Later days, everyone.